Okay, guys, let's get started, and then we'll have time for questions and everything at the end. So look, then we touch with the biggest topic in the cold calling, which is objections. Generally, obviously, if you've got a good pitch, you'll get conversations. If you don't get conversations, objections will come out. So the first thing I wanted to start asking is, so whenever we think about the objection, right, it literally come like this, right? Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, stops your flow, and you got to think on your feet. So the first question is, why do you think prospects are giving us objections? What's the reason behind them? Or the reasons?
Get you off the phone.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So they just, I don't trust you, wanna get off the phone. Yeah. William?
Flight response as well. Some people just feel not comfortable with talking or discussing the problem, so that could be a flight response, especially when it's a like a brush off objection.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we're going to be talking about this in a second, but absolutely. Kevin?
Might have had bad experiences before from people calling in and just really hard selling them.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we're starting to get to more and more. Ben?
They want to test you, test what you're selling, test you personally.
Okay, good. Okay, so you guys have given a very wide range of possibilities, right? What I love is that a lot of the salespeople, especially most junior one, they think they are the only one causing the objections, right? They think they've done something wrong. I get a lot of like, I keep getting this objection that they're good or they are just got a supply. What do I do? Sometimes there's a genuine block at that, right? There's a genuine reason why they're giving us that objection. That's a possibility. Some of the times, again, they are going from previous buyers. So they've had a shit cold call maybe today. They've had something happen. They've been screwed before by saying too much on a cold call. So there's a previous bias that we have to deal with. Like a common example is if you're using the most basic opener in sales, which is like, my name is, we do blah, 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 you're typically going to get an immediate resistance out of it, right? Because that's what they hear so much out of. Their brain is almost switched off. Now, an example for this that I like to do a lot is like, there's no women on the call right now, but if there were, they would tell you that the most common Tinder opener they get is, hi, how are you? And most of them find it fucking boring, right? And their brain is automatically going into what Ben was saying, which is like, okay, you're like this, I'm going to test you, right? I'm going to challenge you with it, right? So what this means is like, the main thing I'm trying to get out of this is that objections will come up for many different reasons, not necessarily because you've done something wrong. Most of the time it'll be about them. It'll be about what is it that they're trying to get out, which is maybe just get out, maybe it's getting more information, maybe they have a doubt, maybe they don't trust you, whatever. The point is like objections will consistently be coming up for different reasons. You might not be the reasons why they come up, okay? Now, the follow-up question with this is like, is there a place or possibility or another world where objections just don't come up at all?
Never.
We all had the one call where you call exactly the right time, saying exactly the right thing, and then you're like, you know what, let's have a meeting or let's buy, whatever, right? We all have that. The thing is like, that's that I call it dumb luck, right? That at that point, you literally just got lucky. It wasn't your pitch. It wasn't like the sound of your voice. Maybe it was all of these things put together, but it was literally astral alignment. And that's the type of thing I used to say, like, that happens once a year. Once a year, you're going to have a gift from God, which will be like a deal, a call, a meeting, something like, wow, where does this come from? I'm so lucky. But the difference between someone who's really a salesperson and someone who's just, making a lot of phone calls and just doing pure quantity, is that we're going to be turning the maybes into yeses and the no's into maybes. And that's the pure art of the handling the objections, right? So generally, if those of you going for the course, opener and pitch. Okay, opener, quite easy. Once you get it, it's done. You don't have to worry about it again, right? At least maybe for years or when you change markets. The pitch might take a while to perfect, but once you have it again, it's pretty straightforward. Objections, it's never ending. I can't say I have a master of objection handling. I probably know more than most, but I haven't dealt with every objection in the book. There are some that still will make me think, oh, fuck, what do I say to that? So the logic is you need to understand it's not in your control. All you can do is prepare as well as possible to have all the ideal responses, and they will constantly happen, okay? The final point out of this is the higher the value, the more objections will come up, right? Which is why, typically, the more something is of value, and this will include flirting with a lady. If she's a really attractive, really high value, it's not going to be, hey, how's it going? And she's like, oh, yeah, let's go on a date. You're going to have to show her that you're worth the time. And the prospect is exactly the same logic. The higher value, the more they're going to be fighting against you. Am I making sense so far? Good. Now, let's talk a little bit about a couple of categories. For those of you that already know this, keep a stim. Just want to make sure that we get everyone else to understand. So what's the main difference between a brush off and an actual objection? Oliver?
Is it that a brush off is sort of like a lie? Like, for example, they'll say they don't have budget, but in reality, he's just trying to get you off the phone. And then a real objection is they say they have no budget and they don't have budget. Something like that.
Partially. That's half the definition, yeah. Tim? Hello?
Yes, so hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So the brush up would all often be something which is not logical. I don't take cold calls, which is not it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So look, the brush off is, to be fair, you're both right, because there are times that something as an actual objection is actually a brush off, right? But they can never be the other way around, right? So let me explain this briefly. It's a brush off is like a knee-jerk reaction. It is typically, for those that read the book, it's like a system one reaction. They're not really thinking about it. They just go away, right? And this could be I'm in a meeting, send me an email, I don't take cold calls, I'm not interested. Imagine that you haven't even said what you said, is I'm not interested. That doesn't make sense. They can't really not be interested because they don't know. It's just they want you to go away, right? So, and this is going back to the objections we mentioned earlier. This is the situation, like Kevin was saying, where they got a shitty cold call before and they just can't be asked to entertain it, right? So this is what it's happening immediately. It's very quick, and you usually can tell because they haven't really thought about anything. So if somebody picking up a cold call and says, I don't have budget, they haven't really thought about anything, right? Because there's always a way to find the budget if needed. It's just that they are trying to get you off the phone. Now, an actual objection is a factual blocker. And this could be things like, I just signed with PSL. We've just assigned all the budget for the year. It doesn't mean there might not be something, but that's what they're thinking, is that I can't do this because I've got this. Or I'm on holiday could be a real objection, right? Because I'm like, well, I don't want to discuss this. And it's maybe different from a brush because they're not immediately trying to get you off. As I can't speak right now. It's why I'm in a meeting can be both. If it's bullshit, it's a brush off. If it's they're generally picking up the phone in a meeting, because some people actually do, then it could be an actual objection. The main thing that we want to understand is how do we deal with this separately, okay? And that's the follow-up question. So how do you deal with a brush off compared to how you're going to deal with a actual objection? Kevin?
Just simply a quick question. The brush off, isn't that something that usually appears quite early in the call? So as soon as the opener comes, the first reaction is, oh, I'm in a call, I'm in a meeting, I don't have, well, they won't say probably I don't have budget immediately. And the actual objection usually comes later in the call where you already explained the problem. They will say it's not a problem. And yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, just and then to compare the brush off for me would be something that I would really need to maybe funnily understand if it's actually really they don't have budget, they don't have time, or why are you then picking up the call in a meeting? And the objection afterwards is really something you have to handle and take serious and say, well, I understand, and then you need to find a solution for it.
Yes. Okay. So good. So look, first of all, the first assumption is correct. Generally, you're gonna deal with brush offs at the beginning of a call. That's not always the case, because sometimes you'll pitch and someone will just say like, send me an email. Right. And you know, at that point, like if they've not given you any, if they say, look, this could be interesting, I'm a little bit in the middle of something right now. Like, if you send me an email with more detail, I'll be able to take a look. That's still a real objection because they explained what it is and why they're giving it to you. If it's just typically the shorter, the more immediate, the more likely it is it's a brush off. Now, the slight difference is that in what you say, how you respond to it is that with the brush off, we typically don't want to entertain it. So with the objection, you want to understand the brush off, you're just going to try and get it out of the way, right? So the main difference, and which we'll talk a lot about, is like a brush off is, probably all of you here have seen some of my videos. The typical brush off is like, hey, you know, when they say, am I going to ruin your day? Yes. Ooh. Is that because you hate cold calls or is it just my voice? Right? I know they're not going to ruin their day. I know it's for a fact. The moment they hang up, they're never going to fucking remember me. It's not a real objection, right? It's a brush off. It's their response to my question. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of letting them get away with it, I'm going to challenge it immediately, right? Well, if it's a real objection, then I'm going to take a different approach to it because I want to engage the rational brain, okay? So to boil it down, emotional response, so knee-jerk reaction, will require immediate response. Any rational reaction requires you to slowly try to understand what's going on. Are you still with me? Any questions on this or anything that's not clear? If you want some examples right away, we can. Otherwise, I'm going to give you much more later. Tim.
You react if you're not sure if the brush off or real objection?
It's a good point. So if you're not sure which one is it, in doubt, I would probably treat it like a brush off because it's going to get me an immediate response, right? The reason behind this is like, okay, let's give a practical example. Send me an email. Send me an email can genuinely be both. There are some people out there that will, I'll give you an example. Myself, it's very, very hard unless you're doing a hell of a job. You're going to persuade me to book something on a cold call because I know all the bloody tricks. And I know you're going to try and get me emotional. You're going to try and like problems. So I'm like, look, I don't know who you are. I'm going to need some social proof. I'm going to want to see who the hell you are before I spend 30 minutes of my time, right? So that would be my so typically it's very hard to book me via cold call. It's actually easier to initiate by cold call and then book me via LinkedIn or email, right? Just because I'm too skeptical that you're going to waste my time, right? Generally speaking, some people are going to be, if you drag them deep enough, they'll be like, okay, I'm keen, right? Now, in this case, what I like to do though is if someone goes send me an email, my immediate response, the first one is like, okay, are you just trying to get me off the phone? So I'm not trying to understand what I'm just testing. First of all, are you trying to get me off the phone or not? And if someone tells me I'm not interested right away, my initial response is going to be like, okay, was my pitch that bad? Or you genuinely do not have this problem? Because I'm going to try and get them re-engaged as quickly as possible. Because I run the risk. The problem with the brush off that's very dangerous is that they are likely to hang up right after that. So I think this happened to some of you guys. You got the pitch. They say, I'm not interested. And then they don't hang up immediately, but they 2-3 seconds. This is the part where if you start going like, look, I understand you're not interested about, you're gone. So this is why you need to engage as quickly as possible. Now, another rule of thumb is the faster you get it, the more likely it's a brush off. So if you said, sorry, my camera is a fucking nightmare. If you said just a pitch, and then within like a second, it's like, I'm not interested, you know it's probably about a brush off. They haven't really thought about it that much. If they give you more elaborate answer, you treat it like an objection. Okay, that's the overall idea. Does that answer the question, Tim? I guess it does. Okay, good. Awesome. Any more questions on this? That was a very good point. Okay, cool. Ooh, someone dropped them. Yeah, okay, perfect. Nice. Then let's talk about the psychology behind it. You know, I'm a big psychology fan, and I always want to make sure you guys use as much as possible. So this is the first difficult question I'm going to ask, which is between yourself as a salesperson and the prospect, who should be handling the actual objection? Oliver.
Sounds weird, but them.
Why?
Because what's it called? You can't convince someone. Yeah, you can only like influence them to convince themselves. Something like that.
Very good. Okay. So look, this is one of the reasons you guys are here typically, because you've probably seen in my calls, in my content, I don't try to persuade people. I don't try to push anyone. I'm just trying to gather the information so they can persuade themselves. And this is really what the good salespeople of the world want to be like. You don't want to be the salesperson trying to push, because eventually, first of all, people tell you to fuck off. Then it's not very hard. It's not a very easy job because you're actually getting so much more resistance. And also it just doesn't work as effectively as when someone is persuaded. And the most practical example I'm ever going to give you is, think about the last argument you had with your partner, your parents, or one of your friends. Once you both get stuck in and you're fighting for your corner, how often do you actually get to a position where either party is happy? Right? Think about that genuinely. Like with your partners, but I think never, realistically. Right? Even with friends, it's hard. You probably everyone is getting annoyed, etc. With your parents, fucking even worse, right? It's only when they understand themselves the situation, then you can get past this, right? So does that make sense? Because this is a very crucial point I want you guys to internalize. Like, am I making sense when I say this to you? Okay. Any questions on this?
I suppose the question would be, how do you get the prospect to convince himself?
Okay, very good. This is exactly what we're about to go. We're about to look at. Dimitri, did you want to say something different?
It's the same question, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what we're going to work at right now. So now, before we get to how we get them to persuade themselves, we need to get them in a position that they want to listen to us, right? And they've just given you an objection. So they are going to be expecting a fight. So what's the easiest way to go and lower that tension immediately? Kevin?
To agree with them.
Very good. You have a wife, don't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the example I always give, is like, what's the easiest way to end an argument with your wife is you agree with her, right? Now, the problem is, like, in this case, we can't just agree, because if we just agree with the objection, we're fucked, right? So we need to agree. Now, the problem is, in most sales programs, you're then taught, yes, but, right? And what then really happens is that, exactly as you try with your partner, with your friends, the moment you say, yeah, I completely see that, but, immediately the other person is again on the defensive, because you're about to disagree with them, right? So now let's say that now this part is a little harder, so I'm going to try and make it a bit easier. Let's say I want to give someone some feedback, right, about something that could be quite delicate. I'm about to do this. What's the easiest way to get them to be a bit more open to that feedback? Some of you are kids, you might have tried this before. Dimitri?
Well, you start with praise, right?
Yes. So look, the praise works. The situation is like right now is you can do the what you accept. It's like, you know, oh, I've got a supply in place. That's great to hear. You're probably already doing a good job. That's good. The thing is that you still risk of going into the bad area, which we want to avoid, right?
So you want to try and understand that you want to show them that you understand that what they're thinking about, what they're feeling. Maybe. So like you might say something like, okay, so what I'm hearing, and then blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so good. So like now what we're going is this is the deeper part of the acceptance. So you can accept to be like, yeah, fair enough, I see what you mean, or you can even repeat it back to them in your own words. That shows you really understood, right? So that will lower the barrier to some extent. But then we're still missing, how do we then go to basically get them to persuade themselves, right? Oliver, what did you think? What did you want to say?
You mentioned like kids, and a lot of kids are very curious. So is it like asking questions, asking like trying to understand them?
Okay, good. So what we want to do right now is like, this is a trick that I've actually learned fucking, I don't know, 8 years ago when I was managing people. And managing people, guys, is probably the only worst thing I've done than cold calling. It's really fucking hard, right? It's so hard. And one of the things I've learned when I was a manager was like, if you want to give someone some feedback, you want to build the agreement beforehand. So this is the part where, and this, if you're managing anyone, or even if we're kids, it's like, hey, look, can I give you some feedback? Right? Can I give you my thought on this? Can I give you an opinion? Whatever. So what you're doing with this is like, you're getting them to pre-agree with what you're gonna then do next, right? And what you guys have seen in the videos, this is where I go, do you mind if I ask a cheeky question? Do you mind if I ask you a direct question? And this is the power. What I'm doing, like, probably I get a lot of shit for this, by the way, on social media. People are like, why would you ask if you can see a question? Why not just ask the question? Well, the logic is like, I am get them to agree with me on something before I actually go and challenge them, right? And that has psychological value, because if I say, can I ask you a question? And they say yes, right? What this means, they agree for me asking the question. So I get away with asking a way harder question because of I pre-asked it. Same with feedback. Can I give you some feedback? And you can do this with prospects, by the way. Can I give you some feedback? Can I share my thoughts on this? This is going to be a way for them to agree to what you're going to say next. It also takes away that yes, but idea. Because no matter how you do it, if you agree with them and then you go and say the opposite thing, that's going to cause resistance, right? So what we want is we want to accept, understand, even summarize, as Dimitri was mentioning. Then we want to seek permission, and then get them to relax further. And then we're going to go to start changing their mind, which is when we start to challenge them, right? Now, if you're not sure, so let's say, okay, I've got this so far, but how the hell do I go about challenging them? So as far as what you've learned so far in the course, in the calls, etc., what is the one thing that we will always want to go back to in our calls?
The problem?
Yes. Ben, is that what you were going to say as well? Perfect. Good. And now, another thing that I want you to know about the objections is you can only ever handle an objection if you get the prospect to realize the problem is bigger than the objection. Okay? So first of all, this means you cannot win them all. And you guys see my videos, you see how many rejections I post, you know, like you're not going to have a shit on high conversion rate. It's just impossible. So this, first of all, makes you accept that you can't win them all. Secondly, it makes you understand that what you really want to do is get them to feel, is the problem bigger than the objection I have? So a couple of practical examples for some of the people here. So for example, William, William is doing websites. If the person perceives that redoing the website is going to be a higher effort than having more leads from it, you will not get them to agree to the meeting. Oliver, if the person perceives their emails are okay, and implementing new tech is not going to be something that's going to be easy for them to do or a good enough ROI, they will not want to explore further. Ben, if they think, fuck, changing my whole IT suppliers, going for new vendors, if they don't think there's a big enough problem with their current suppliers, then why the hell would they go for that pain, right? So what we're going to learn today, and which is why the training is almost done, and the rest will be very practical, we're going to go into the higher levels of objection handling, okay? Now, just let me quickly, any questions so far before we could, Ben?
So if I say, can I ask a cheeky question? And they say no, I handle that like a knee-jerk reaction and kind of go around.
Yes. So look, this almost never happens, to be honest. Like statistically speaking, that it's so low. But every time it's happened to me, I've just fixed it with like, come on, just one last question, then I'm done.
Okay.
Right. So basically, the one last question literally never fails, or almost never fails. Sometimes, do you ask a question can fail, and then you just sit them with like, look, I just ask one last question. If it's not relevant, tell me to go back. Is that fair? And then you typically get your second win. By the way, sorry, one more logic. Just I want to give you some nuggets of psychology here. There's two main reasons this works. First is, so the overall reason of the can ask a question is called the foot in the door technique. This is the tendency of human beings to agree to a bigger ask if they agree to a smaller ask first. That's number one. The second one, which I do not remember what it's called, but if they said no to something, they are likely to say yes to something smaller. So do you mind a question is a bigger ask than do you mind one last question? So that's all the things that you can try and think about, right? So all of these are just leveraging little psychology tricks here and there, okay? Sorry, Darren, you had a question. Hello? Darren? We can't hear you. Darren, we can't hear you. Your audio's not coming through. I'll go to Oliver. I'll go to Oliver in the meantime. You can type the questions in the meantime, okay? Oliver.
So is the reason you change up, you say, can ask a cheeky question, can ask a weird, can ask one last, can ask a bizarre question. Is that to keep the prospect not bored?
It's more like, it depends. Look, cheeky question or cheeky direct questions are my favorite because they get the prospect more curious. So can I ask a question is not as interesting as can I ask a direct question. Especially like C-levels, like they want people to be direct with them, right? So they also, when you say someone can ask a direct question, it feels almost like a competition. Yeah, you can ask me a question. I can handle that. A cheeky question just gets the person a bit laughing, right? I would probably use this based on the conversation. Like if it's a really serious guy, I'm going to use direct question. If it's like a more friendly guy, I'm going to use cheeky question. That's the way I would try and go about it.
So like triggering the emotions and stuff.
Exactly. Look, as you guys know, the more we can keep the call emotional, the more likely the person is to be engaged. You got to think about it like when you watch my videos, you watch my videos because it also stimulates your emotions. And a cold call is like an ad to some extent. If you're constantly stimulating them, they're more likely to want to keep talking to you longer, right? Otherwise, you just get scrolled past. Darren, you're typing. Okay, like, I'm gonna let you type, and then okay, there we go. Just wanted to make sure. But okay, yeah, actually, I'm literally about to recap this, so but you do. So look, the first one is accept. Okay, so this is where accept and acknowledge. I would say the best way to do this, something I'm not particularly good at myself, is to summarize it back. So like something they say, hey, look, I've got some suppliers. I was like, oh, okay. So if I understand correctly, you've already looked at a bunch of people. You're really happy with what you got, right? And you might even correct it in a more positive way to see if they correct you back, right? Or like, oh, okay, sounds like you already got the perfect suppliers to take care of this. Well, not perfect, but they're quite good. Okay, can I ask a question? Or can I ask a direct question? Can I ask a cheeky question? Can I ask a weird question? Whatever. So that's the permission. And then I'm going to challenge them. And the challenge them is I'm going to try and get them to think more deeply about the problem. Okay. Now, the only order with this change is with the brush. With the brush off, I'm just going to challenge you immediately. Okay. Now, in order to make this a little bit, I just want to give you guys some examples. So I'm going to go my Insta. Hey, can anyone give me just have a thought about what are some of the common objections you face? The common ones, let's see if I can find something that is quite similar based on the videos. We'll watch a couple of videos and then we'll go really practicing this one by one. But can anyone give me an objection or two that they typically face and they like to see whether we can handle it differently? Oliver?
Oh, sorry. Did you say type it or?
Oh no, you can tell me. You can tell me. It's okay.
Oh.
I mean, I think yours is a good example because yours sells for salespeople, so you get a lot of the similar ones.
Yeah. Let me see. I'll type it out. I've got a list.
Okay, I'm not the right person to talk to. Okay, I've got a few in here. So let's play a couple of videos. So I'm not the right person to talk to. So what? I'm not the right person to talk to. I've got the best example I've ever had with this. 1 second. Yeah, this one.
Hello? We don't know each other. If I mention this is a cold call, will I ruin your Thursday morning?
Probably, yeah. If it's to tell me that I've won a significant amount of money, it might not be too bad.
I'm sorry, I'm coming to sell you something, not to tell you you won anything. Can I steal 30 seconds?
Go on.
I'm actually a cold calling trainer, but you might tell me your salespeople never run out of steam and there's no problems to iron out in your business.
I don't have a team. The person who you cold call would be...
Do you mind if I ask a question about that?
Go on.
Do you think these problems I mentioned they'd be relevant for her?
Our BDRs are booking literally no meeting. They definitely would need help.
Can I ask a really cheeky question?
Oh, God.
Would you have number?
I do. So it's 07...
Thank you very much. Any tips?
She's got a daughter's dentist appointment at 11. So I'd say call her at 10:45.
Right, so just to give you the practical example, so you see, because I didn't just say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go this person. I got the person emotionally invested with the problem, right? That's the crucial part. When you realize, oh, fuck, this person might be able to help me figure that problem or help me the problem that affects me, then they're more willing to chime in. You know, I think like Ben, Tim, you guys talk to a lot of people that will play this card. So this is quite good because does this problem affect them? And if they do, all of a sudden they'll be interested in helping you out, right? Another slightly different approach to this, which I quite like, is I'm gonna just a more recent call. Let me see if it's my TikTok. We're gonna look at it in a second. But okay, so you see, just to clarify, is like I'm like, okay, fair enough. Can I ask a question? But does that mean these problems are relevant though in the world? Yeah, well, okay, they are. Okay, can I ask a cheeky question? Can you give me a number? Right. So this is the step by step I'm doing with this, right? Then we're very happy. Another episode, we already have someone, so let's find a couple that are like we don't have someone. So just trying to see. Send me some info. I'm in a meeting. 1 second, guys, because. Got supplier. We use someone. There we go.
Good morning. If I openly confess this was a cold call, would you give me your blessing to continue?
Crack on.
I'm a sales trainer, but you might tell me you've got some amazing callers.
We've got some good recruiters, but the market's sort of been that bit tougher.
What have you done to fix this already?
We do utilise a couple of trainers already.
You already have 2 trainers. Have you seen no improvement?
I think it's a much tougher market.
Can I ask a even more direct question?
Yep.
Have you accepted this is just the way the market is?
I don't think you can just accept that's the market. You have to battle against it.
Would it be...
Okay, so just to clarify again here, right? So what I'm doing is I'm thinking, okay, he's got someone, but is there a problem? Right, so I've gone back to like, okay, you told me the market stuff, you got some trainers, how have they not fixed the problem for you? Right? And so that's the part that I want to hammer on to make sure that they get to the point. They're like, well, hang on a second. This is, yeah, maybe there is something I can do with this, right? So again, it's always about, can I get them to see the problem in a different light that might get them to want to work with me, okay? Now so we tried in the past, I had one recently with this. I think it's this one. 1 second. So TikTok. 1 sec. I think this is the one. Hopefully it is.
This is a good old-fashioned cold call. Will you press the red button?
Okay.
Or let me briefly explain.
Hit me.
I'm a sales trainer, but you might tell me you're 100% happy with sales performance.
99% happy.
What's the last 1%?
I'm not happy. We've kind of looked external sales training. We never found anything. Would be useful.
Can I ask a direct question?
Yeah.
Have you closed your mind to the idea that there might be a trainer out there that can help?
Certainly not closed, no.
In this case, would it be a terrible idea to have a proper sit down? If you think it's bollocks, we don't speak again.
I'm sure it's not bollocks.
I'm gonna just drop in invite.
So again, even in this case, what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to challenge the way in which to look at the problem, right? So they tell me, oh, we tried this before, it didn't work. Okay, so does that mean that you just think it could never work? Right? And again, we want to see, like, are they skeptical for the right reason, or are they not? And then they might think, oh, in your case, Oliver, very specific, is like, oh, okay, I've seen this, it didn't work out. But does that mean there's not a way to do this differently, right? And the beautiful part in your case is like, because you do AI, anyone who's just brushing off AI is probably a bit of an idiot these days, because AI is not going anywhere. It's fucking here to stay, right? So that's the overall logic that we guys to apply. Darren, for I'm not interested is like, I'm going to find something specific when I'm not interested. Typically, it's quite an easy one. I typically handle not just with humor, but let me get you something more specific for this. I'm just gonna try and get a screen. But okay, first of all, guys, any specific questions? Like, because you've seen a few of these, we're gonna do the next 20 minutes just looking at objections specifically. But anything that's not clear about the framework, about how I deal with this, I just want to make sure we iron this out before we talk about real examples. Okay. Cool. So just let me give you the last one for, I think I'm not interested. I've got a few of those. I mean, probably my most famous one is the one about when someone says I'm not interested, and I just hit them with that. This is like, I'm gonna try this, but I don't think this is too applicable. It's when I started with the Italian accent. But let me see if I got another one. I very rarely get I'm not interested for some reason. But I get, like, I don't take cold calls and all these type of things. 1 second. Just want to get a couple of them. Yeah, there we go. This one. So let me share. This one.
Do you reward my honesty if I openly told you this is a cold call?
No, I'm not interested. Thank you.
Because you hate cold calls or just my voice?
I don't take cold calls.
What about the good ones?
Who are you? Sorry.
I'll take 30 seconds. If it's not relevant, you'll never hear my Italian accent again. Is that fair?
Okay.
Basically, I'm a sales trainer, but this might be the part you tell me the team is great already.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you very much.
Can I ask one last question before I go?
Sure.
When you say you're good, is that because I coach you out of the blue, or you generally do not have these problems?
No, we don't have this problem.
Okay, so this is another example, like 2 different variations of it. Is like, first you challenge it, then when you say we're good, not interested, is very similar, by the way. And again, you hit this like, oh, you generally don't have these problems, or you just, my pitch was shit. right? And I see like both of these I'm trying to handle with humor rather than trying to get the other person to give me a good reason, because then they'll give me the reason after that. And they say, look, we just don't have this problem. Then you can keep carrying on, obviously, this forever, but that's just to give you a bit of an idea, okay? So this is to give you some of the options, okay? I think she sent me an email, like there's a bunch of examples. I just want to get through to the last parts, okay? But I'm actually going to give you a practical example of that. So this is what I call going from generic to specific, right? This is actually the send me an email objection specifically. But every single one of you will have very specific responses to objections due to what the market you're in.
Hello?
This is actually a cold call, but a well-researched one.
Go for it.
I'm a cold calling trainer, but this might be the part where you tell me your salespeople are amazing, they never chicken out.
Budget-wise, I don't know where we'd stand.
Does that mean you never unlock extra budget for something that could be interesting?
It's just not something that we've ever spoken about. If you pass over your offering via email...
Do you mind if I ask a cheeky question first?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever trust your team to be trained by someone that sends you an email instead of keeping you on the phone?
Good question. Unlike many of our prospects, I'll be true to my word and I'll...
So the logic here is like that type of response just doesn't work unless you're a sales trainer, right? There are some different ones you could use, like for example, for recruiters, one I really like is someone's like, oh, you know, like, can you send me an email? Yeah, of course I can, but would you want me to be the type of recruiter that just sends a bunch of emails instead of talking to people? Or would you rather be the type of person that's proactive and keeps people on the phone? Right? So there's different ways that you can do about this, right? Like even in some of you can actually rephrase this. Like even you, Ben, would be like, send me an email. You could be like, oh, okay. You know, the type of IT suppliers just sends you emails instead of properly giving you time to explain what is it that this might be different. Like there's so many ways that you can spin this around, right? But the logic is, what we need to think about is what is very specific about your offer or about the problems that you fix that you can reconduce to the problems, right? And the way we're going to do this now is we've got another 15 minutes entirely. So I want you to think about the most specific objections you get, or even the ones that you get the most often, right? And what I want us to think about is how is it that we can respond based on the offer you guys have, okay? So feel free now, you can unmute yourself, you can drop some objections, and then we do this a lot in the live calls, but of course, I'm happy to do this now. William, you want to start?
Yeah, actually, what would be a good response for me in terms of like, can you send me an email?
Okay, so look, can you send me an email? I think because of how you pitch, I think the way I would do it is like I'll be honest, like I put quite a lot of work into this website. I wouldn't just share that by email. And I would then challenge back, because like, if you don't even want to spend 15 minutes, take a look at the website, which took me 3 hours to do, 5 hours, whatever to do, then why should I do that? That could be an option, right? Because you're telling them you already have a ready website for them. So that's an option, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Is there a softer one? Like if I were to now pitch to higher ticket clients.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to pitch to higher ticket clients and you don't have the website prepared, I mean, look, in this case, my standard send me an email response is actually a two-step process, which is, first of all, is something a little humorous. So it'll be like, is that because you don't get enough emails? Is it going to go to the spam or to the deleted folders? Is it a polite way to tell me to go away? So whatever. So once and this will qualify them. So 20% will tell the truth and be like, no, yeah, to be fair, I'm not going to look at it. I'm just trying to get it fine, boom. And then you can go back to like, is it because my pitch sucked, whatever. If they go like, no, I'll take a look, then you'll be like, okay, so what should I put in that email to make sure that it's going to be valuable for you to read it and you will want to reply? Right. And then they'll give you a bit more information about what is it that they want in that email.
And then do you actually care to send the email, or do you just go off of what they said they wanted the email? Because I feel like in my case, an email is not going to convert very much compared to just saying on the call.
Well, look, it's not just your case, any case, right? But there will be people you just will not be able to convert if you don't send that email. I booked meetings by email, plenty, right? So then my third step would be probably ask the weird question. So if I genuinely believe they're going to read the email, I'm going to maybe ask the weird question. I'm going to be like, hey, look, tell you what, can I ask one last weird question? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite month? What's your favorite day of the week? Blah, blah. I'm going to put that into the email subject so he doesn't get lost. When would be a good time to call you back about this? And then I'm going to try and book the meeting for the call back. So like, look, one last thing. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to get it to you by 4 p.m. today. Then you said Thursday would be a good time to call you back. Why don't we pencil some time in to review the content of the email? If you think it's bullshit, you cancel that invite. Is that fair? Right. So that's like, you see this, it's a quite elaborate process, but some people, guys, there are traders out there say don't never send an email. It's fucking bullshit. You're going to miss all the people in the world that just want to see things written down, which is a ton of them. Right. So especially if you're talking to millennials, and below, which are not as easy to be are not as comfortable on the phone compared to maybe boomers, you will want to send those emails or you're missing on revenue. So that would be the step-by-step process that I would go about it. Just to clarify, not all objections, you'll have a very specific response to it, but also because send me an email is not a specific objection. It's a very generic one.
Okay.
Cool. By the way, guys, everyone else can steal this exact framework for the send me an email objection. Exactly the same. Now, anyone else that got more questions that they face on a regular basis that they want to discuss how they could come up with something a bit more unique? Tim. Tim? Your audio is not coming through. Hello? It's not coming through. Okay, if you want to type it out as well, Tim. Anyone else, guys? Ben?
Yeah, I suppose I'm trying to think. So I'm an IT reseller. I'm pretty much identical to my competitors. I'm trying to think how I can have very specific responses that a competitor would have pretty much exactly the same response.
I mean, look, keep in mind that most competitors will not go into this detail about objection handling. Right? I mean, this type of framework that you guys see, probably 5% of the market will use. And this is from empirical evidence. Whenever I go and train a business, I've had one business so far that was asking questions instead of arguing with the prospect. So the most common is yes, but and stop feature dumping or benefit dumping in a better case scenario. So already asking questions gets you to a better situation. I think your focus will be as much as possible in gathering information, because the difference will be you might be identical. So it will be a lot when the product is identical, the service is identical, what matters is the salesperson. So the more information you have to tailor your pitch, to tell what you're going to tell them, the more likely you are to get success out of it. So your game is always going to be trying to ask more questions and to try and be as standing out as possible on the phone, so that whenever you send them or whenever you book that meeting, that they already have a favorable impression compared. So weird question, ways to come across different, all of this should be in your area. I think the majority of the people they get the best success from my training is because they work in crowded markets. Because if you work in a super niche market and you're the only player there, you don't fucking need that much work, right? You just call and people will be receptive. But if you work with a ton of competitors, you need to be having the extra edge. So I don't know if that answers the question particularly, but that's the framework I was trying to think about when you're dealing with objections.
Yeah, I suppose I'm thinking the best way for me to kind of respond would be, well, so you already work with someone, they pretty much offer the same thing. Are you completely happy with them? Are they giving you the best service possible? Try and take that route as a way to get them to say, well, no, they're not actually, and then try and that way.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think the two routes I would typically go with, like, that. Does that mean you wouldn't consider changing even if someone better was out there? I mean, try to get them to say, like the no instead of saying the yes, of course. And then the other one is like, hey, look, it sounds like everything is perfect. If there was one thing, what's the one thing you like to improve on? And then you start pulling the thread from there. That's the two approaches I would typically take when a situation like this happens.
Okay. Nice, thank you.
No worries. Hudson.
So what I typically get is some companies haven't really tried using a service similar to ours. So what I get is either we haven't tried that, or that won't work in our process right now, or we tried that before but it didn't work out.
Okay.
Some people are really not, like, don't have any idea of how it works, and sometimes they even think that it will be too difficult for them to like change their process to implement the virtual staffing thing.
Of course. So I think in this case it's relatively straightforward, because all of this, like, we tried this in the past, didn't work. All you gotta make them think is like, it's like someone trying a steak once and decided that forever steaks are shit, right? What are the chances that they tried the wrong service instead, right? So the way I would, you know what, we hear this a lot. It sounds like you've had some bad experience in the past. Yeah, we did, blah, blah. They went a bit more. Okay, look, can I ask a really direct question? Yeah, so look, so does this mean that even if this could help you and save you dozens of hours, you still wouldn't consider it if someone that actually could do the job would come along? And then they either will say, look, we fixed this problem this other way, we don't need to outsource the hours anymore, or they'll start going, well, of course we would look at that. Okay, when you say you look at it, what's the characteristics that you're looking for? And then you can figure out whether that's aligned with what is it that you do. Oh, they'll need to be able to work these hours, they need to have an NDA, whatever. And then that's one of the information is like, okay, look, if I said we have this, and this, and we're particularly strong on that, would that be worth a conversation? And that's how you book the meeting, right? So that's the step by step. So I think all of this, like, kind of bogged in their own mentality. Oh, we tried, this doesn't work. That's typically, you go hard at it. It's the only option. And either they realize or they don't. And if they realize, then it's quite straightforward to book them in a meeting at that point.
Okay. That makes sense. Just one last thing. I also like that people who say that it won't work in their current process, or they want like in-person people or in-house people. Is that something that I need to push through, or
you should, because again, it's a bit of again, it's a bias they have. So the options would be like, it doesn't work in the process. The simplest one is like, what do you mean? Like, they need to give you more information about the process, right? And it might be possible that it won't work. And if they say in person, I would challenge it like, okay, so I guess you don't have anyone that's working effectively remotely. And then you'll see, because they might do. Maybe we've got some staff team members that they never come into the office. Oh, okay, so I'm confused. Or maybe they'll say, no, we used to, and then now everyone is in the office because it just doesn't work for us. Okay, so, and then you can go again, have you closed your mind to the idea that this could work? And you just challenge. I think that's in your case, specifically because of what you offer, which is very crowded. I would just be honestly brutal with them. Like, okay, does that mean you've given up on this? And just try to challenge them out of those thought process.
Okay. Gotcha.
Cool. Oliver? We've got Oliver and Kevin.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up.
I've got a question, but it's nothing to do with objections. Shall I ask it now, or shall I ask it tomorrow?
Okay, let me go Kevin first, and then we can come back. Kevin.
Okay, thank you. Just quickly, whenever you face somebody that somehow doesn't even know about how big the problem is that they have. How would you go about that?
Can you give me a practical example? Because
For example, we do market research. We build a software to do market research, and they don't even know how much time every employee spends every day to Google stuff that they do. Everybody does the same thing, and it's distributed among team, takes hours, and we save that time basically.
Okay, so I would try to take a couple of different angles here. Like one that I would try is like, okay, look, can I ask a cheeky question? And I'd be like, what do you think is the average time employees spend Googling stuff? And see what they respond, right? And then they might say, oh, 20 minutes. Okay, if I told you the average is 3 hours, or whatever, do you think your team is the most exceptional that doesn't do this? Or perhaps it's something that you haven't thought about earlier, right? For example. But again, you want to try and figure out where the problem is. Is Googling going to be the problem? Or I think another one might be, are they trying to pitch the wrong stuff because they don't have the right data? Right. For example, okay, so you'll be like, oh, when you say this, like, so I guess it's never happened that someone came up with the wrong research at a meeting. Right. So you see, it's the anecdotal questions to get you to think, oh, fuck, I don't realize I have this problem. Right. It's like for the IT resellers, sometimes you'll be like, oh, okay, so that, or cyber. So does that mean you never had a data breach? Oh, no, we did. Ooh, so you told me you got 0 cyber problems, but you got a data breach. Like, what's going on? And that's how you go about it, right? So that's. I hope this helps, guys. Now, just to okay, yeah, we're kind of good with that. So in terms of just moving forward, if you got objections that you're not sure about, and then right now I'm on the go, but if you write them in the community, you see how I respond to every single post. So if you put, I got this objection, my brain is cold, I've got more time to think about it, and I give you even better responses. So that's what I would do. Whenever you face an objection, try to think about yourself and then post it in the community, and I'm going to give you some ideas. And now, Oliver, you can ask your question.
Can I leave it for tomorrow, actually?
You can, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right.
All right, cool, guys. I hope it was useful. The recording will be available in 5 minutes if you want to go through it again, and I will see you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers.